Heinz explained to the chemist that his wife was dying and asked if he could have the drug cheaper or if he could pay the rest of the money later. The chemist refused, saying that he had discovered the drug and was going to make a lot of money from it. The husband was desperate to save his wife, so later that night he broke into the chemist's and stole the drug. And the question that Kohlberg presented to the children, to the, in my view, befuddled children, should Heinz have broken into the laboratory to steal the drug for his wife? Why should he? Or why shouldn't he have acted this way?
Anybody who thinks that this scenario, it wasn't justified for him to break in, I would just want to ask you, why is stealing worse than saving a human life? A psychopath, a sociopath, a narcissist, they will always try to tell you it's just about the principle. Don't steal. Be a Christian or be a Muslim or be something. Put a label on yourself so you can hide your true nature. Obviously, not everybody who is religious is evil, but there's a difference between discipleship and just calling yourself a Christian, for example. And this difference is very, very important because a lot of abusive people who are demonically led, hide behind this title of being a religious person, a man or woman of God. It's all lies. What I've realized about people who manipulate is, first of all, they take advantage of your insecurities. So if you're confident, there's not really much that they can do, but they will still try. You know, I don't like this bullshit mentality of, oh, you attract what you are. If toxic people come to you, it's because you're toxic. No, actually, it's quite the opposite. Most of the time, it's because you're a really good person, so they're going to take advantage of you, which is sad, but that's what it is. Also, they're very lazy with their arguments. So they just want to insult you in very, very childish ways. So there's really no reason to take it so seriously and personally. They're just going to say anything, really. And what I've noticed also is a common thing is most often these people hide that they're actually they're just bigots and they're racist and they're hiding it, but they're not hiding it well enough because I can tell. And what's really tragic about when we happen to be in a relationship with this type of person, and just on a side note, most people don't realize that they play a role. They pretend to be like us. They pretend to be good people. And then one day they just show themselves. They show their true selves. So what happens when we're together with them is that after we already invested in them and we already have strong feelings and a bond with them, it comes out that they're racist or something like that. And then because they're not really racist towards us, or it's like indirect or something, you're like, well, should I throw this whole relationship away because they're a bigot? Because, you just feel like, oh, I can change them. And what's extremely dangerous is when they're like assholes towards other people like that. And it doesn't have to be racism, but they're just really assholes to other people. And then you feel like, oh, so it's special that they like me. The cynical guy who's always complaining, who's always negative, who doesn't like people, he likes me, so that means he really, really loves me. Or she. This goes both ways. This is so dangerous. If you're in something like that, just realize that it's a fake kind of belonging. Like whenever you bond, even with friends, about negative stuff, it's super limited, it's super short-lived. It's never gonna be a lifelong thing if you don't want to stay in toxicity, because you can only as soon as you start developing and you start to want to have peace and like, you just over this sad, nihilistic, cynical mindset, because nobody can sustain that. You know how bad it is for your body. Like, I'm not for toxic positivity, but you know how bad it is for your body to be always, like, you're always releasing cortisol, basically, if you're, always agitated and all of these things and negative. Even depression, there are studies that show that being depressed kills your cells earlier. So your cells die earlier. Like, just think about that. And people still trying to gaslight us and to say, oh, spirituality doesn't matter, feelings don't matter. Like, are you dumb? No, you're not dumb because you're subscribed to me. So we really shouldn't care about these people. I think they just need to be starved of attention. We can't feed into these demons that they're struggling with. And they need to be picked up by mental health care, which they're probably not going to do. Most likely, people who actually have a heart will go to therapy. So, it is what it is. A lot of people also use this as an insult for other people, like, oh, you need therapy. And I think everybody should go to therapy, to be honest, but the people who need it the most never go. That's my point. And just stay away from these people. That's the only thing you can do. At one point, I saw some articles saying, how do you deal with gaslighting? How do you deal with hate? How do you deal with... The best thing you can do is ignore them sometimes, or stand up. Stand up for yourself, but don't waste your time. Like recently, my boss actually, he kind of devalued my creativity in general, because I told him I'm doing fashion, I'm doing my fashion on the side. And maybe it's because it's not that I'm working for him that he just devalued it. But a big part of my work is being creative. Like, I do creative things. And, we were having a little discussion, but then he was like, oh, why do you want to do this? So many people do this already. And I just ignored him. And, mind you, I never do that. That's why it's so funny to me. And he was just I think he was a bit taken aback, but then, sometimes just pause. Just pause. And even... I just really ignored him, but you can just look at people and just like, when they ask you something they shouldn't ask, or they're saying something rude, just look at them. And then they're gonna call you intimidating because they know they're doing something wrong. So the only proper way is to shun these people. That's my opinion. I wish we could exile people again like we did back in the days. That's why I like Japanese culture, because in the past, they were brutal and stuff, but you know what? Like, look at their society, and it has problems. Every society has problems. Every culture has problems. But you know why they are the way they are now? It's because back then, like, what are Japanese people known for? Being very polite and all of these things. Back then, if somebody was selfish, if somebody was a narcissistic a-hole, and they weren't born into... That's the unfair part. If they weren't born into royalty, they would just be carried away somewhere into the desert, just dropped off and left to their own devices. They're like, okay, you say you don't need us? Okay, go there, be alone. And I kind of like this mentality. I'm gonna be honest with you. Maybe it's my own warrior ancestors that are, coming through my genes. But I'm not gonna say, oh, this goes for everybody who does a single mistake. I'm just saying, like, people in general. And nowadays we just accept every single person in society, and I don't think that's a good thing. I know that's very controversial. It's not really nice of me, but you know what? I'm done with being nice to people who don't want to reciprocate. Like, I don't care about these people anymore. And I think you shouldn't either. So, that's that. So have a good night. See you soon.